Are you considering trying a meal kit service or switching brands and wondering if HelloFresh, GreenChef, or EveryPlate is the best option for your family? Then you're in the right place. In this video, I will run you through the pros and cons of each option and share which one our family chose to stick with. There's one key difference that I bet will surprise you. First off, let's touch on why families should consider trying a meal kit company. If you're familiar with my channel, then you know that I'm all about helping parents just like you develop strategies to parent with intention and confidence. When it comes to meal kits, we're talking about getting intentional about how family dinners run in your family, plus a bonus consideration of how to get the kids involved with more of the family chore distribution. Now, I was a stay-at-home mom for 14 years, and I noticed that after my third child, and especially after the fourth child, it got harder and harder to find time to plan out meals for the week, selecting recipes, creating a list of ingredients, carefully grocery shopping to include all of those ingredients, often while juggling 4 young children at the grocery store, and then of course actually cooking the meal. So that's a lot for any busy mom to manage. By the time I returned to working a few years ago, I was pretty much only cooking things that I could do with very little thought, using the ingredients that I happened to grab at the grocery store. These were perfectly fine meals like salmon and rice and Brussels sprouts, or shrimp tacos with tortillas and rice and beans. However, they were uninspired and frequently repeated. On top of that, my husband and I had adopted more of a pescatarian diet, while some of our children enjoyed red meat and chicken. They wished that they were able to eat more of that at home so they could have it more often than just when we dine out. We wanted to find a way to better balance everyone's protein preferences. Plus, I don't know if you're like me, but I really don't like touching raw meat, so I wasn't very inclined to start cooking more of it. Meal kits solved this problem for us. More on that in just a minute. 2 more factors that swayed us towards trying meal kits were wanting the kids to, 1, learn more about how to cook, and 2, get more involved in helping with the distribution of family chores, including cooking. They were actually pretty excited to learn more about cooking. If your kids are younger, this factor may not play into your decision yet, but it may very well in just a few short years. So it took me about a year to decide to pull the trigger and try a meal kit and actually do the research on which options to try. My oldest child at the time was about 13 or 14 when he started expressing interest in learning more about cooking. He anticipated high school graduation coming in just a few years and knew that cooking would be a big part of being ready to live independently. And he felt much more comfortable with the idea of following a recipe than with playing around with ingredients in the kitchen. My next oldest was 11 or 12 and had already been experimenting quite a lot with cooking and baking, but she wanted to expand her repertoire. So stick around until the end and I'll tell you exactly how the kids are involved in cooking now and the life-changing difference that meal kits have made for me as a busy mom. So how did we decide what meal kit company to try? We consulted friends who use meal kits and did some Google and YouTube searches, and we decided to try GreenChef, HelloFresh, and EveryPlate. For each meal kit service, we received at least 3 weeks of deliveries, and we ordered dinner for 3 nights each week for 4 people. And yes, we have a family of 6, but some of our crew eats less than an average adult, and not all the kids enjoy leftovers. So my husband and I wanted to be assured to avoid being stuck with eating a lot of red meat and chicken leftovers when we typically don't eat those meals to start with. So most nights, meals designed for 4 were perfect for our family, with a few modifications, like adding an extra cup of rice. Let's run through the pros and cons of each meal kit separately. We'll go in alphabetical order to avoid bias. So first up, EveryPlate. So pros, they have an easy to navigate website. You can choose from the following plans: meat and veggie, family friendly, quick and easy, and nutrish and delish. You can choose your meal to serve 2, 4, or 6 people. You can choose a delivery window. We chose Mondays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and we almost always received our deliveries right on time around 2 p.m. As of the recording of this episode, EveryPlate advertises 3 meals for 4 people per week as 12 servings, costing $5.49 each. So our weekly bill, including delivery fees, was $76.87. For reference, those 3 meals cost less than it typically costs our family of 6 to eat out for 1 meal. More pros. They offered many options to choose from each week. It's easy to skip up to a few weeks in advance for travel or other reasons. They have very clear communication about upcoming deliveries. The meals were all pretty straightforward to cook, with excellent step-by-step instructions with pictures. And the meals all tasted great, and we felt like pro chefs making them. Plus, EveryPlate boxes and separators are 100% curbside recyclable. The ice packs are recyclable at plastic bag drop-off locations. Now let's move on to the cons of EveryPlate. So you may select 3, 4, 5, or 6 meals per week. So EveryPlate does not work as well for households wanting to select only 2 meal kit dinners per week. That's the trade-off for having such an affordable meal kit option. The kids easily found options they wanted to cook on EveryPlate, but I had a little bit harder time. There were always several things that appealed to me, but I scanned over that page each week with the selections they were offering, and they looked a little heavier to me, more of what is often referred to as comfort food. So for example, this week they're offering cheesy Southwest beef tacodillas, sweet and spicy ponzu pork meatballs, and beef bolognese. However, they do have a mushroom and thyme risotto that looks pretty delicious and not too heavy. The 3 meals arrived in one box with the meats separated and protected by ice packs. Meanwhile, the remaining ingredients were all stored in one open-top box. This is fine, but you'll see when we talk about the other companies that the ingredients for each meal are packaged separately, which makes it easier to find the ingredients for the meal you're cooking. Remember, simplifying meal planning and prep is a major reason for using a family meal kit. Moving on to GreenChef, we'll start with the pros. An easy-to-navigate website, you can choose from the following plans: Mediterranean, keto, protein-packed, calorie-smart, plant-based, quick and easy, gluten-free, and gut and brain health. You can choose your meal to serve 2, 4, 6, 8, or 12 people, so you can serve a big group with GreenChef. You may select 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 meals per week, so you could really cover most of your cooking with these kits if you wanted. You can choose a delivery window. Again, we chose Monday between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and always received our deliveries on time, right around 2 p.m. They offered many options to choose from each week. Every option offered looked delicious and healthy to me. It was the opposite of EveryPlate in that kids could only find a few meals that appealed to them, while I was flush with delicious choices. For example, this week they're offering barramundi with white bean couscous, salmon with herb chickpeas and kale, and sesame shrimp poke bowls and mango slaw. They offered the meat that the kids like, but far more seafood selections than EveryPlate. More pros: it was easy to skip up to a few weeks in advance for travel or other reasons. They had clear communication about upcoming deliveries by email. And again, the meals were pretty straightforward to cook with excellent step-by-step directions and pictures. Now, there were a couple dishes that lacked flavor, but for the most part, they all tasted great, and we were able to make them to look just as beautifully pictured as in the instructions. So I have to add too that the shrimp from GreenChef tasted delicious. The 3 meals arrived in one box with the meats separated and protected by ice packs. The remaining ingredients for each meal were stored in 3 separate paper bags labeled with the designated meal. And GreenChef packaging is fully curbside recyclable, including the insulated liners. The ice packs are recyclable at plastic bag drop-off locations. Moving on to the cons for GreenChef. As of the recording of this episode, GreenChef advertises 3 meals for 4 people per week as 12 servings costing $11.99 each. So our weekly bill, including delivery, was $154.87. That's double the cost of EveryPlate. GreenChef is the only company that we had a delivery problem with. One day the box arrived and appeared to be fine on the outside, but when I opened it up, it was clear that a sauce container had broken. Interestingly, the sauce wasn't required for any of the meals, so I think it was a free gift promotion. Also, GreenChef is the only company that we experienced any problems with the items included in the delivery. So one time we received the wrong meat, we received chicken rather than pork, and twice we were missing an item, not a major ingredient thankfully, but my daughter was very disappointed that the spicy herbs were missing from what was meant to be a spicy taco dish she made on her cooking night. Once they forgot to include the instructions for one of the meals, but thankfully it was easy to print them from the website. Moving on to HelloFresh. Pros: easy to navigate website. You can choose from the following plans: meat and veggie, family friendly, fit and wholesome, quick and easy, pork-free, or pescatarian. So a couple more options than EveryPlate, but similar to GreenChef. You may select 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 meals per week. You can choose a delivery window. We chose between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. on Mondays and almost always received our deliveries right around 2 p.m. As of the recording of this episode, HelloFresh advertises 3 meals for 4 people per week as 12 servings costing $8.49 each. So our weekly bill, including delivery, was $112.87. That's halfway between the cost of EveryPlate and GreenChef. They offered many options to choose from each week. The meal options were more of a balance between what appealed to the kids and what appealed to us parents. For example, this week I made ricotta tomato ravioli while the kids made mushu pork bowls and chicken sausage pasta primavera. It's easy to skip up to a few weeks in advance for travel or other reasons. They have clear communication about upcoming deliveries by email. And just as with the first 2 companies, the meals were pretty straightforward to cook with excellent step-by-step directions with pictures. Again, all the meals tasted great and we felt like gourmet chefs preparing them. The 3 meals arrived in one box with the meat separated and protected by ice packs. The remaining ingredients for each meal were stored in 3 separate paper bags labeled with the designated meal. And HelloFresh boxes are made from post-consumer recyclable fibers and are 100% recyclable. The ice packs and are recyclable at plastic bag drop-off locations. Now, how about the cons for HelloFresh? You can choose your meal to serve 2 or 4 people. As I mentioned before, our family of 6 does well with a 4-person size, but if you need more than that, you have 2 options that I can see. One is you could open 2 separate accounts and order the same meals on each one with a serving size of 2 people on one account and 4 people on the other account, which sounds a little complicated to me. Or you could get creative with the number of meals that you select per week. For example, you could order 6 meals per week with duplicates of each meal. So you would only end up with 3 meals, but they would each serve 8 people. But that might mean a lot of leftovers. Next, we'll dive into which family meal kit company is the winner. As a reminder, this is an impartial, non-sponsored review. So if you'd like to try any of them, the links will be in the description below. Okay, it's decision time. It quickly became apparent while testing these 3 meal kit services that they're owned by the same company. The websites have very similar designs, the email structure and timing are nearly identical, and the deliveries came at the exact same time. As I understand it, the HelloFresh group, which is based in Germany, also owns GreenChef and EveryPlate. So our friend-based and internet-based research led us to the equivalent of an Old Navy, Gap, Banana Republic scenario, where all 3 brands are owned by the same company, and I like all 3 brands for different reasons. With clothes, I can easily shop at all 3 stores. With meal kits, it gets a little bit more complicated. In fact, while we were testing all 3 companies, I rotated each week so that our decision wasn't based on the primacy or recency bias, and so we weren't just partial to the companies that we tried first or more recently. That meant that there were many weeks when I skipped a delivery from 2 companies in order to receive a delivery from the 3rd company. So I will tell you that that did not work out very well. There were at least 2 weeks, maybe 3, when I ended up with 2 companies delivering 3 meals for 4 people. I could have sworn that I had skipped that week, but as a busy mom, I can't place that blame on any of the companies when it was probably an error on my part. Although, to be fair, friends have reported similar issues with deliveries being made despite skipping services. But if your goal is to start using meal kits to simplify your life, I suggest selecting 1 service at a time. So how can you decide among these 3 options? The good news is they're all solid choices, so you can't go wrong. But there are some factors that can help you decide. If your primary consideration is cost, choose EveryPlate. If your primary consideration is lighter, healthier eating, choose GreenChef. If you need more than 4 servings and don't want to figure out the math on making HelloFresh's limit of 2 or 4 people work by adding more meals per week than you actually need, go with EveryPlate or GreenChef. If you want to serve a very large group of people, up to 12, select GreenChef. If you want a lot of your cooking covered by meal kits, up to 8 meals per week, choose GreenChef. If environmental considerations are at the top of your list, all 3 of these meal kits options have fully recyclable packaging materials. If taste is of the utmost importance to you, all three were delicious, so you can't go wrong. When I asked my family to rate the meals, ratings were all over the board. Sometimes one person would like all of HelloFresh's meals, while the other person would prefer all of EveryPlate's meals or GreenChef's meals. More often, it was a mix of different companies that won over our taste buds. If you want clear instructions and easy to follow directions, all three of those options are strong. If you have multiple people cooking the meal kit meals, consider GreenChef or HelloFresh because the ingredients for each meal arrive in those separate bags. We ran into trouble a couple of times with EveryPlate because with their commingled ingredients in one box technique, the first chef of the week accidentally used too much of an ingredient like green onions that was meant to be split between two meals. If it will drive you crazy to have any mix-up on your order, like a missing ingredient or missing instructions or the wrong type of meat, I would not recommend GreenChef. In contrast, EveryPlate and HelloFresh were spot on every week. If you want what I consider to be the best balance between all of our family's needs, choose HelloFresh. Okay, and now I promised earlier to tell you exactly how I integrated meal kits into our weekly cooking routine. Switching to using meal kits 3 nights a week has been life-changing for me. My oldest child cooks dinner every Monday, completely independently. My second oldest child cooks dinner every Tuesday, completely independently. The third and fourth will probably get started pretty soon. But the third kit, I cook on another night, and I actually feel like I'm a good chef again, not just cranking out the same few simple meals that I could prep without thinking over and over again. We usually eat out as a family 1 night a week, so that just leaves 3 nights unaccounted for, which may be filled with leftovers or social plans that involve dining elsewhere, or my husband cooking, or one of those simple meals that I was making more often, like pasta or nachos. Everybody in the family gets to pick the protein source that they like the most. Usually Monday is red meat, Tuesday is chicken, my night is either seafood or vegetarian, so the kids are happy, and my husband and I can stick to our pescatarian preferences by easily prepping some shrimp or salmon to substitute on Monday and Tuesday, while enjoying the remainder of the dish that the kids prepped. Plus, I never have to touch raw meat. The kids have developed some impressive cooking skills, and each meal that turns out well is a confidence booster for them. The one who preferred following directions has already started becoming adventurous with their substitutions and additions, having learned the basics simply by following the meal kit instructions. I hope this review helped motivate you to try a meal kit and decide which one might be the best fit for your family. If topics like this, which are meant to simplify your day-to-day parenting experience, appeal to you, check out my YouTube playlist called Parenting Made Easier. Just click on the image on screen. Keep up the good work on your amazing parenting journey.